Good morning, everyone. Sorry about the technical difficulties last week, but we're back and today we're going to do some face drawing. I know the week before last we did eyes and mouths, but we didn't have time to do some noses. So I really want to get started just with some nose drawing today. So let's get started. Sorry, my page is wet from the rain. So what we want to do with a nose is just start with a small circle and don't press too hard. This is just going to be the end of our nose and we will rub parts out. So just start by adding a small circle. And this is just a face on nose too. So we're not looking from the side, we're just looking from the front. The next step to do, and you're not in a hurry to do this, just lightly, so following the shape of that circle, come up. Just on each side. And we're not going directly up like a line like this. We've got a little bit of a curve like that, if you can see. So when you've done that, the next step is just not completely halfway, but just below halfway. We're just going to add one on each side, a curved line like that. It's quite small. And then on each side, one of these. So it's just across and up, just curved. And on each side. Okay, so when you've done that, just very lightly in the center of the circle, or in line with these lines, sorry, just draw another line. And then very softly, some straight lines coming up here. So I hope you can see that okay. So what we've just added is this line here and just coming up straight and meeting on this line here. And this is just going to be a guide for our shading too. I don't want us to be like, oh, that doesn't look like a nose. What are we doing? But it's just to guide us with our shading later. Remember to post progress photos to the Wollongilly Facebook. I really enjoyed seeing some last week, even though we didn't have an online class. I saw people do face practice and I thought that was amazing. And someone did a really, really good nose. So I'll just give you a little bit more time just to do that. I don't want to rush anyone this morning.
Hey Liv, we have a couple of good mornings. We've got Jeff back on here. Good morning, Jeff. And we've got Marie. Hello, Marie. As Liv said, sorry, we really do apologise for our tech issues we had last week. It was both of us, wasn't it, Liv? It was a bit of a chaos. It turns out my computer just wasn't working, and Liv's internet wasn't working, so it just was not going to work. We've got Linda with a Y. Linda and Rex are back on. Great to have you guys back. And don't forget, when you get a chance, send your progress photos through to the library messenger, and we'll try our hardest to get them up and into an album.
Cool. No, it's our second last one this week.
It is our second last one. It's coming to an end. We were just talking about that, weren't we, Liv?
Yes, and it's sad.
It is it's sad, but it's also a little bit exciting because it means that restrictions are easing, and there will be a point where we can start thinking about when we can actually move these classes face to face and be a little bit more interactive. As I mentioned to Liv a little bit earlier, we haven't got a date on that, but that's something that we're going to work towards. We definitely will be working alongside the library, the community projects team at council, and Liv to try and start getting some face-to-face activities going when it's safe to do so.
I'm excited.
And what are we doing? What were we going to do next week, Liv? Have we decided?
Isn't it the railway?
We can do the railway, or are we going to put it out to the Facebook community and see what they're interested in doing next week as our final?
So yeah, comment below, and we'll choose one of those to do next week. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, and maybe it's I don't know. I'm assuming people are maybe looking at using their skills that they've learned along the way. So it might be a collection of things that you've done, maybe a landscape. I don't know. Could be anything. So feel free to comment in our comments box. Is that what you call it?
There we go. Put the light on. It's a bit better. Okay, so our next step is to just very lightly from these bits here, just connect up to those center lines. And just very softly. You can adjust it if you want and go, oh, it's a bit of a weird shape, and you can move it, you can rub things out, but I'm just going to leave mine like that. And that's more to guide shading as well, so that will be rubbed out too. I'm using a H pencil for the outline because you can do it quite softly and it won't leave big marks on there. But ideally for shading, as I've said in a few weeks before, I like to use something softer, like a 2B to a 6B. And you can just choose which one you'd like. And I just use our shading technique where you just do that soft back and forward motion with the side of the pencil on the page. If I'm going too fast, let me know. But what we're going to do next is start shading. So I'm going to just start by shading the outside of the nose here. So down this line on the outside, just a little bit around that circle. You can even shade out a little bit too, very softly, and do the same on the other side. And when you do your faces as well, or do your portrait drawing, you can alter the width of the nose. So you can have these bits come out wider if they've got a wider nose, or you can have them quite slim and I guess straight like this if they've got a skinnier nose. So there's lots of options for them. So I'm just doing it like this just for an example. And then as well, I'm just going to shade around this part here. So I'll give you some time to do that. It might not look like very much at the moment.
Liv, we've got a comment from Kat. She said that her 8-year-old and 5-year-old daughters have been loving your classes. Thanks for organising them.
Oh, beautiful. I'm glad they're joining in.
And I think what I didn't mention was we're not, like, after next week, we're not going to be doing the virtual Facebook Live classes, but Liv is working alongside myself and the library team to come up with some short videos aimed at young people, being inclusive of all young people of all abilities during the holidays, some craft ideas, and hopefully a youth video as well. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll have some more information about those videos shortly. So they won't be live like we're doing now. They'll be pre-recorded, but yeah, they'll be available on the library Facebook and the library YouTube channel. So it could be a bit of a school holiday activity for our young ones that are that can join in.
That should be really good. I'm excited for them. I can't believe it's school holidays already.
Don't even talk to me about it, Liv. I'm not ready. I don't think anyone's ready for them.
So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to really darken these lines here and curve them down around that circle, but on each side, just really darken. If you can see that I've darkened those. And what we're going to do is shade, we're pressing quite hard down and just shade a little bit underneath, so going lighter as we go down to the bottom. I'm going to do the same on the other side, so I hope that makes sense. I'm going to do darkest at the top and shade a little bit lighter as we go down to the bottom. I hope you can see that sort of creates that, the start of a 3D look where you can see the nostrils. Just do a little bit of light shading underneath there too, if you'd like. Because this is where our Cupid's bow will come in. So you can even add that if you like. Just with some soft shading. I'm just using it like a circle motion with my pencil. And that can be the start of adding your Cupid's bow. So when you've done that, don't worry if you haven't, keep going. Just going to add some more shading on this part here, the circle that we've originally done. And just shading around the circle here. And at the bottom, up to that line as well. So just to blend that line down and around the circle. We will sort of get rid of the circle soon as well by rubbing it out, but this is just our shading. And then you can sort of get rid of that top line as well with a rubber, just lightly. And just blend out this other line there. So we blended up to that line. Now I'm just going to curve from up there, just around that basic circle shape, and just leave the top. And curve some of the nostril down on the side if you like. And then just come around and shade the outside sections. So we're just going to darken along here on both sides and just give some extra shading there. I think noses are quite tricky, and it's more about what you can see of yours as well. You can go, oh, I actually don't like that, I want to change something, and you've just got to keep altering it until you're happy with it. But yeah, these lines here and the circle, they're really a base for how we're going to shade the nose, sorry. So that's sort of coming together a little bit more. And what you can do is just add some light shading in the center now as well. So I want this bit to be the part where the light hits the most, especially here. This is the top of our nose. So we're going to leave that as light as possible. So shade in and leave that quiet light in the middle. We're going from darkest on these outside lines to lighter in the middle. Might even darken this shading on the outside too if you'd like. Give it some more depth. And even add just some more shading underneath the nose as well, just to give it that shadow. And again, just shade quite lightly, just so you can rub anything out if you need to. And just make those nostrils darker again if you'd like as well. So I find noses quite tricky to draw, but just with an outline using that scaffold, have that circle, sort of just gives us the basic nose shape as well. And that's a good start for guiding our shading. Just give a few more minutes on that. And if you've got questions, just ask, because I know it's a bit tricky. Doing facial features, I sort of threw you in the deep end, but I know you guys can really get it. And we'll get another chance to practice the nose when we do some more faces very soon. And you can sort of see as well that with this, then we can start adding lips underneath. So it's a really, really good starting place as well, I think, for adding the other features of the face. And then even going into the eyes. So I think it's a really good starting point, and we can even go off there if you'd like to draw a face, or we can start from a basic face shape and then go in. Actually, I might do that. I'll go. Just let me know when you're finished with that and I'll move on.
No comments yet, Liv, but I think I've had a couple of progress photos come through.
Oh, beautiful.
So Fiona will get those up very shortly.
I'm excited to see those. I know this is a little bit tricky and I might have gone a little bit quick, but I do so because I know you can always watch it back on the YouTube, and I want to fit as much as I can in as well. So. Okay, so I'll just do 2 more minutes on that one, and then can move on to another.
Oh, Liv, we've got a message from Jeff. He's wanting to know if you could do a quick nose in profile.
Yeah, for sure. That's fine. Okay, so I'll do it just underneath this one, if that's okay and you can see it. So again, we're going to start just with a little circle. So we're going to pretend our person is facing this way. Have a little circle. I think noses in profile is actually easier than a nose in from directly the front. So we've got our circle, which is again this part of the nose. And then we're just going to add another one, not too far away, and just a little bit lower and smaller than the other one. So we've got 2 circles here. And this is just a guide as well. If you Google, or if you want to look at pictures and just try and copy the shape of the nose, that's fine as well. So I've got 2 circles. And then what we're going to do, just connecting here, we're going to go around that circle. And up. And you can always alter this with everyone's different nose. They might have a bigger, rounder nose coming this way. They might have a more curvy nose coming under there. I'm just going to do this for an example. Okay. And then what you can do, like up here, we're connecting this bit in now, the nostril. So from the edge of the bottom of that nose, that circle there, we're going to add a line meeting the other circle just here. Just trying to help you see it a bit more. Okay. So that's our nostril, and this side of the nose, or the circle here, sorry, is going to be this part of the nose here. So I'm going to have that. And it's going to be just underneath the nostril as well. So just like that, when we're following that shape of the circle. And what you can do is just shade underneath here. So that's just like our nostril, we're going darker to lighter. And there's a part of the nostril there. You might even want to do a bit darker in the center here. So we're this bit here. And then like we did up there, just shading along this line that we've done. Go out as well, and then shade very lightly inwards. And you can rub out the rest of that circle line if you can see it. Sorry, that's not working. Oh yeah, so that little line there. I'm just going to quickly rub that out. That's the unwanted bit of our circle that we don't need anymore. And then from this part of the circle, you can sort of bring a line up as well. And that's going to be our lightest bit in between here. So just like this, that's going to be the top of the nose, and that's where we're going to have our lightest shade. And we're also just going to shade around this point of the nose, darker underneath. And we're going to leave this bit here lighter, because as well that is part of our light section of shading. And just rub out the top bit that we don't really need anymore. And then just going to shade. Really join these parts up now. So we're going to have our darker shading obviously here. So on the outside of this line, and just lighter shading in the middle. So I might just blend out this line up here. And then do some very soft shading as we go up. So we're really trying to leave as much of that lightly as we can. And then you can just really shade out as far as you'd really like. You can bring some darker shadows from this bit here, which is the side of our nose. You can bring some darker shading coming up as well. And there's no real right and wrong with this as well. You can really copy, if you've got a picture there, you can copy that nose when we get to that as well. And just really try your best to get that shaping and shading as accurate to the nose that you'll be copying. This bit here is our Cupid's bow, which is there. And that just comes down from our line that we did previously. And then we can really add a mouth to that. I hope that helps a little bit, Jeff. I'm sorry if I'm not very amazing at explaining this. I haven't had a huge amount of practice with these, but I hope that can help you with profile drawing and anyone else who's interested in that too. But yeah, so just identify, we started with the circle, which we did here, and then we got that nose shape really from that circle that we did there. And then adding a circle here, we got this shape. So it's essentially our nose that we did up here. If we add a circle here, we can turn that into a profile nose as well without that other half. So I hope that helps. Pop in any more questions if you'd like, and I'll jump on to starting a face. So just got a new page.
Jeff said thank
Pop in
you.
any more questions if you'd like.
Liv, Jeff
And
just said.
I'll jump on to starting.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, that
sorry.
was with
No.
I
thought I'd just turned the whole thing off, but I hadn't. Sorry. Jeff's just jumped on and he said, "Great, that's great."
Beautiful. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw, I guess, the outline of how you'll do a face, because lots of people look and go, I don't know where I'd put things or how to draw the shape around the eyes and the nose and the mouth. Proportion is a really hard thing to do when doing faces, and it takes a lot of practice too. So just have a go the best you can. Sorry. So start with a larger circle. So I'm using a H pencil, but you can use like a HB or a 2B or 2H, anything you've got. I preferably like using something with a H in it, just because it's softer. And just try and do, I guess, the best circle shape you can. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to sort of break our circle into 3 parts. So, or 4 parts, sorry. So 1, 2, just as accurate as you can. Don't stress if it's not too accurate. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. just sort of bring those lines. You can use a ruler if you'd like, but I wouldn't worry too much because this is just practicing. And I'm still really practicing these two. You've just got to try your best. And I know faces are really hard, so don't stress too much about results today. Just know that you'll have more knowledge at the end of this than you will when you started. So just when you've got these 4 parts, we'll get on to our next one. And right now I'm just going to write in this is the top of the head. This is where hair will come down around the face. This is the center, and this is not really the center of the face, but the center of the circle that we've got right now. So this is half of our circle. And this bit here, nice. So this line here is where our eyes will be. So when you've done that, we're going to go from the eye line. We're going to draw another circle a little bit smaller. And this will take some practice. I'm still practicing, but this is just the steps to proportioning a face. I'm really excited to see the results that everyone gets. So I'm just very lightly doing these circles and these lines because I really want to rub them out in the end. So I'll give you some time to do that one. I am going to be putting out a cartooning video on the Wallandilly Facebook too, and that would be a really different approach to faces if you'd like to watch that when it comes out. It's directed at anybody, but more so aimed at teenagers if you've got kids or family that want to have a go at cartooning, or even yourselves. It'll just be an introduction into facial expressions and different characters that you can make when doing some cartooning. So it might be interesting to do this today as a more realistic approach and then watching a cartooning class. But I think you guys have really nailed all of the realistic classes we've done. You've got some really, really good landscapes, seascapes. You've done so much. I loved the eyes and the lips, and I don't think when I started drawing as a beginner, I don't think I would have got those results. So you guys are just smashing it.
Still need we still need some of our fans to comment and tell us what they want to do next week as their final week of virtual Learn to Draw with Liv.
I think they're probably sick of me throwing them in the deep end.
What do you think your favorite week was?
Oh, actually, I don't know. I really liked, I thought everyone's landscapes were really good. And I loved their flowers, but my favorite was all of the results with the eyes and the mouths. I think they really, like, in terms of results,
yeah,
that was my favorite.
I think you could really see that everybody had really taken note from the beginning, from, you know, when did we start this? Like 8 weeks ago. that they used all their skills and practiced, and the end result was, when they did their eyes and their mouths, it was so realistic and looked fantastic. But I did like landscapes. I think landscapes was a really great week.
No, I'm really happy with everyone's pictures they've done. So
we've got a couple of comments. We've got Jeff's just asking, will the cartooning be like caricature drawing?
Sort of, in a way. There'll be some caricature elements to it. Some, I guess, the way we did noses today, you'll learn some different types of noses in cartooning, which could be used in caricatures. And you could even use those skills in the cartooning one to put into a more realistic portrait and sort of make it a caricature. So there's elements that you could really use in there, I think, if you would be interested in caricaturing.
Fantastic. And Linda with the Y, so that's Linda and Rex, they're wondering if we could maybe do a historic building for next week.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I wonder, Linda, are you thinking a local historic building, or are you thinking like somewhere outside, some like a more well-known Australian historic building? Feel free to comment. Yeah, completely open to suggestions. And just to clarify, Jeff, the cartooning workshop will be a pre-recorded workshop, which means, again, you can go back and watch it, and we'll be coming out. We don't have a date as yet, but it will sit in the school holidays, which I think starts like, is it early July?
I think so, maybe the 4th of July. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I feel like I've just put it to the back of my head, even though I need to kind of organise my own self. I'm pretty sure it's July.
Love it. Yeah, just keep commenting if you want some things for next week. Definitely pop in ideas. I hope you're up to the next step, because I'm definitely powering through. I really want to get as much as we can done. What we want to do next is try and find the center line. So divide these circles in half now, and just very softly, doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but just as best as you can, just draw a line coming up. And this is to create symmetry when we add the eyes, and use, we can use this line as a scaffold for drawing the nose and find the center of our mouth as well. So that's a crucial line in really getting the proportioning right. And then what we're going to do is just add another one of these lines just at the very bottom of that circle, and bring that out too. So if you've got a phone, before we move on to the next bit, you can take a screenshot if you'd like. And then we're just going to add one more line as well. Just a bit smaller, like a bit thinner than all of these. So we want to leave a little bit more space underneath. And we're just going to add another line there. And this is going to be a nose. And our mouth. So it's all broken up into sections where we'll have parts of our eyes, nose, and mouth. And what you can do as well is you can come down and join, following the line of the circle, join these up. And that is sort of the basis of a face. So if you'd like, you can screenshot that. You can revisit it on YouTube if you'd like. Take a photo of your page if you're not using your phone to watch this on. And I'll just give you some more time to do that too. Might look a bit overwhelming. When I first saw this, I was a bit like, oh, there's so many parts to it and it's taking a while. But once you sort of know how to break it up, and it just takes practice, it just really helps to proportion a face really well.
Linda's commented back and she said, nothing specific, any old building like a farmhouse or a shed.
I love doing them. They've got some really cool, like with all the tin metal, and you can get some really cool textures in those. So I'd be happy to do that next week.
That sounds cool. It reminds me of growing up, living on acreage, and I remember all the pictures around the house. And the old folk art that my mum used to do, and you know how they used to paint them on like old saws and all sorts of things. That would be a really cool one to do.
It'd be cool to get everyone painting one day too, I think.
Well, that's the plan, Liv. That is the plan. We just need a date.
Fun fact for yeah, I was going to say a fun fact for everyone is this is the first time I've ever taught drawing to people. So you guys are my #1 drawing class ever.
Throwing you in the deep end.
I was actually very nervous to start this because I've never taught drawing before. I'm usually just teaching painting, but this is really cool.
I think everybody would agree that you've done a fabulous job.
Thank you.
I had no idea, to be honest, when I approached you. But that makes sense because when I first met you, you were teaching painting. It was how to paint a seascape, not how to draw a seascape. So that makes sense. There you go.
That's cool. It's inspiring. You guys are inspiring me to draw more, which is awesome.
I think one of the wonderful things, I mean, there's been some awful things that have come out of lockdown, but there's been some really nice silver linings. And I think one of those things is that a lot of people have had to come out of their own comfort zones. We've had to think, we had to think about how do we adapt? How do we be bold? How do we be innovative? And yeah, this is kind of a result of it. I would never have thought of putting on a workshop like this on Facebook until we couldn't see people. So it's very cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy that even like Jeff and Linda and everyone and Susie, everyone's stuck with us the whole time. So I'm really happy.
We've definitely got a crew.
Really familiar faces. So sorry, I'm just getting my own picture. If you've got a picture there, if you don't, that's okay. You can sort of follow what I'm drawing. But if you've got a picture, feel free to use it and try and copy their facial features as we go into this little pattern here. So for our eyes, what we're going to do is break up this part here into quarters. So actually thirds, sorry. So we got 1, 2, 3, and try and be as symmetrical as you can. 1, 2, 3. So I hope you can see that. And if you've got a picture of your own, add the eyes in yourself. I'm going to copy a picture that I've got. And this is where we're going to draw our eyes. So this is going to be the inner corner of our eye. This is going to be the outer corner. And this is going to be the center. So my person that I'm drawing has his eyes a little bit closed, like squinting. So I'm going to draw his eyes quite thin. You can have big, wide open eyes like that. I hope you can see that. I'll do it here. Have big eyes really wide, or you can have skinnier eyes. If you want your person as well, if you're not copying someone and you're just drawing a person, a tip is if you want them to look tired, have their eyes quite closed, because the wider your eyes are, the more active your eyes are and the more wide awake you look. So remembering our drawing from the week before last with our eyes and our mouths. We're just starting with the outlines. We're going to come in with more detail later, so don't go straight into detail. Just draw the outline, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do next. And you can always rub bits out. Sorry if you can hear my dogs barking. They're a bit painful. Okay. And then I'm just going to add in just above, we're not going to go up to this line, but just above, I'm just going to draw in the outline of some eyebrows. I'm not going to go into detail yet, just because we've got bits to rub out. This is just so we know where we're putting things. And you can really copy the picture you've got too. Otherwise, I'm just going to go along copying the one I've got. And just very softly. Drawing in those shapes. And we can always go back and fix things later. Is it raining up in Wollondilly too?
I don't know. I'm in Wollongong.
Oh, wow. That's cool. You're close to me then.
I don't know. Maybe some of our viewers in the Dilly can let us know. I would imagine so. It's very cold here. And when I went into the office on early this week to get my computer fixed, it was very chilly. Very, very chilly.
So I'm just going to give you guys a few more minutes just to draw in the outline of your eyes and the eyebrows if you want. Mine's not perfect, but I'm just happy with that for the moment. And then we're just going to go into drawing in the outline of our nose and our mouth.
It's not raining in Tamor, apparently, Liv, says Linda. And she says, don't worry, her dogs are barking too. My dog barks all the time, I've noticed. There's a couple of things I've learned working from home. My dog barks all day. And we've had someone else that said that, oh, Fiona, she said that she's out Campbelltown Way and it's not raining there. So it must be just us down here, Liv.
My garden's going to grow big.
Coastal rain. Hopefully it's getting to some farmers. And look, there's a lot of love on here for you, Liv. There's definitely a lot of love on these comments saying that you've done a wonderful job. Our library staff have commented and said that you've done an amazing job. It has been a really popular event. It's actually been one of our most popular Facebook Live posts, which is really great. I love that people can go on and watch later. And I love that people are jumping on the YouTube. Oh, look, it's not raining in Wilton. It's not raining in Menangle. Not in Tamor. It must be looking pretty good, gloomy though.
Yeah.
I think it's just us that are just absolutely freezing, and it's
so cold. I was sitting outside, and 2 minutes before this live video started, I said, "No, I'm going inside. It's too cold."
Started to rain.
So, if you guys have done that, what we're going to do is we're going to do our nose next, and using your picture, or you can just keep going with following what I'm doing. I'm happy for either. For the nose outline, we're going to just come down, and the nose usually starts around near your eyebrows because if you can see, it'll come up, 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 and then you have this little groove in there. So when we draw the nose, we're actually starting just at our eyebrow and coming down, 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 and same on the other side. So that's what we're gonna do. And that's where you might find a lot of shadow too underneath this section. And that's where you get the bit of darkness between the edge of your nose and your eye. So coming in, and you can go wider if your picture has a wide nose, or you can come closer to that center line here if they've got a skinnier nose. And then just gonna, again, outline what we did with our nose just before. And just under this line, not too far under. I'm just going to draw that outline there. So I hope you can see that okay. I've just done it very lightly, and we can add more detail after as well. That's the point after, where we'll rub out all of these unneeded bits, and then you should have a really cool face that you've done. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to join in this little bit here. And just create that bottom bit there. If there's a Cupid's bow, you can just add all that bit here. You can just add a little bit, again, along this center line. Just under the nose. And I'm so sorry for my dogs. I'm so sorry. And then this part here is going to be the center of our mouth. This line is the center. So my person that I'm drawing has an open mouth. That might be the center of the teeth. But at the moment, I'm just going to do a closed mouth, just for time today. And using this line and that center line just to have the edges of our mouth symmetrical. So we've got that center bit there, middle of our mouth, and the top and the bottom. You can really use this center line here to help with the top of the mouth as well. So just keep going with yours, and just until you finish the mouth, and then I'll move on to the next bit. But just comment below as well when you're ready to move on, because I don't want to rush anyone. Might make them smile a bit more. So just a bit more time on that. Pop a comment in for when you're ready to move on. And keep sending progress photos in. I just saw some from Linda and Jeff, and they look really, really good. Your profile one, Jeff, is really, really amazing. I love the shading that you've done. So that's awesome. Okay, so we'll move on to the next sort of step. And
sorry, Liv, we've just got a couple of comments.
yeah.
Jeff said that I was told once to leave the eyes till last, otherwise they watch you as you draw. And Marie's jumped on and she said that she's ready to move on.
Beautiful. Okay, so the next step is we're just going to add some hair. So actually after the hair, after the ears, we're going to do the hair. And I didn't go through ears last week, but while we've got this scaffold, the bottom of the ear should be at this line here, which is where our nose is. So just above that line is going to be the bottom. And this line here, which is the center of our bigger circle, is going to be the top of the ear. So if you've got a photo there, copy the outline of the ear. I'm going to copy the outline I've got from my photo. And you can just copy mine if you don't have one. They've got quite rounded ears, but some people might have a different shape. I think this is a really good, good having the lines there because it keeps them the same size on each side. And I think it's really good to go one eye, then the other, rather than go half of the face and then the other, because you can do each section as similar as you can. I think if you do it one half of the face and then the other, if you've done detail in the eye, you might not remember it or remember the process by the time you get to the other one. So I think it's really good going 1, 2, nose, mouth, ear, just doing each bit in steps and building up the face. So with the ear as well, you might want to add some. Ears are quite easy to do, I find. If you've got a photo to copy from, got the cartilage on the outside, a bit thicker down the bottom maybe. Quite thin. Because we didn't do it in the last lesson, just find bits where you've got darker shading and lighter shading and just draw that in now. So I can see bits where there might be some darker shading. So I'm just going to draw some of that in. And in the middle, there's some more there as well. So it might look a bit weird for now, but just draw in the basic shapes of the ear and I guess the inside of the ear as well. So that doesn't have to be perfect either. But next, just draw in. So you see this line here. Actually, I'll wait till you do the ears and then I'll move on. I don't want to rush anyone. I'd love to see as well everyone continue adding more detail in the face, because we did the eyes and the lips last week and we've just done the nose. I know that you guys can really independently continue adding detail as much or as little as you want. But we'll get as much done as we can today. So when you've done your ears, don't stress if you're not finished them because we've got plenty of time left. And we're just doing the outlines, so we can always come back. So at the top of our ears is the center line of the circle, and the one just above it is where we have our hair. And if you've got a girl or a guy, it doesn't matter, but this is where, so the side of our hair might come along here, down to the ears and up. That's where the outline of the hair is coming over the forehead. So if you've got a girl with a part, you can draw in that part. You can draw in a fringe. Otherwise, you can just outline the hair and even just add some extra little textures on the outside at the top of the head. And this person's hair that I'm drawing comes across a bit spiky. And then back down. So we've got that top of the circle to guide us off. And just add the basic shape of the hair. And it might come over the ears, might go behind the ears. But just draw that in, and I hope you can see that. That's my hair. If you've got a girl, you might bring some hair coming down behind the ears if they've got their hair out. And the neck, if you want to draw in the neck as well to help with your hair, if they've got longer hair, just choose a part not exactly equal, just in a little bit from the outside of our face. And just some lines down can really help guide. Where they might have some hair coming down. At this point, it might not look realistic as well because it's just the outline. But I've seen you guys start from just an outline and make a really realistic drawing of an eyes with noses and a mouth as well. So this is pretty much the start of those steps that we've done this morning and the week before last. So this is where we can really make our face as real as we want it to look. So when you've finished that, then we're very softly going to rub out the rest of those lines. Those lines of the circle. And here as well, we can edit the jawline. We can add in some cheekbones and really guide that for some extra shading. Yeah, but this is really the steps to draw a face before we've added any detail. you've got questions or progress shots, pop them in the comments. But now I'm just going to leave it up to you for the last 15 minutes just to add some detail where you want to add some detail, and just continue drawing your portrait. If you don't have a photo to go off, just use the techniques that we've used in our eyes and our nose and our mouths that we drew previously, and you can create a face. You can even add some, I don't know what that's called, like dimples around the mouth. They've got a big smile. You can add that part under the nose. You can even add some facial hair as well if you'd like. There's plenty of options. And you can even reshape this part as well. If they've got a thinner face, rub that out and edit it. But yeah, that's just how to get your eyes in line, eyebrows, nose, mouth, all symmetrical and quite in proportion to a face as well. So I hope that helps. If you've got questions, please send them through. If you've got progress photos, send them through. But now's the time just to add some more detail and see how you can build from here. And for shading, again, I'm going to use my 6B. And you'll notice that the more detail and more shading that you put in, the more detailed it will look, or the more realistic it will look. And for hair and eyebrows, I usually just like to do the hatching technique. So just the lines going in the same direction. You can overlay them, you can do some longer and shorter. But I think that's it's a good technique to keep the hair strands going the same direction. And you can add some different tones in there as well, having some lighter parts and some darker parts. You can add extra features such as freckles or lines on their forehead maybe, or shading around where their jawline would be. There's heaps that you can do. And with practice, you might be able to just continue doing portraits, but without all of those lines that we did at the start. So yeah, after a while, you'll get to the point where you sort of know where everything should go on a face, and be able to build it without that whole process of all of the lines. Add a bit of a shirt. And of course, you could spend as much or as little time on this as well. I'm doing mine quite quickly. I could add some more detail in. I'm just trying to, but you can really spend a lot of time on faces and get as much detail in there as you want.
Hey Liv, we've got an album that's been put up.
Oh, beautiful.
When you get a chance, jump on. So we've got some great progress shots. His noses look great. And then I think Jeff's given us a progress shot of the full face. Great one,
Hi.
Jeff. Well done. And for any of those, if any of you guys that are struggling with posting a photo, our comments don't allow us to post a photo in the comments section, but you can always take a photo of it and send it through the library messenger, and Fiona will stick that in the album. And you don't have to do it right now, because you can always do it a little bit later when you've worked on it, and even throughout the week.
Mine sort of looks a bit caricature-y, cartoonish, but with more detail, you can really make it look quite real. And just keep adding more detail. I think the difference between this sort of stuff and cartoon characters as well is that the features will be more, I guess, silly or exaggerated. So you can really follow this guide and add some funny facial features or some less detailed ones to really get any effect that you want.
Hey Liv, I think we've lost your phone.
Is that better?
Yeah, I can see it. So I think the delay will put it back on the screen very shortly.
I think it was just my phone saying you're nearly out of charge.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. He's back on.
Beautiful. But yeah, if you've got any questions, we've got about 5 or so minutes to go. Just keep working on sections of your portrait, or just add shading, and yeah, send some progress photos through. If you've got any other ideas for next week, I think it was Linda who might have said a historic building. I think that sounds like a good one for next week, but if you've got any other hopes for a drawing lesson, pop them in the comments. But yeah, you can really spend so much time on filling this face in with more detail. I hope to see some different ones through the week as well. Everyone's posted some progress. Try people with different hairstyles, try people maybe on a profile. As we practiced before, a profile nose, you might be able to integrate that in. Add some facial hair. And I'm just using a dotting technique with that and some short lines. And just think about where the shadows are as well. So there would obviously be some underneath the chin, going darker and then lighter onto the neck. And you can even use your finger or a tissue if you don't want to get your hands covered in lead. You can use a tissue or a blending stick and blend some parts out. But I really like the effect that shading has as well. If anyone has a historic site that they know, or if they've been to, or they'd like to draw next week, otherwise I'll try my best to find a really cool building for us to do, a historic building. But if you know one that would be really cool to draw, pop them in the comments as well. Be really interested in having a look into us drawing that next week. With ears as well, the detail is really made more by the different shades that you put in rather than how many lines. So the first lines that we did for the ear, these bits here, you can see here, I just used some shading underneath and just different tones sort of build up the level of detail that you can have in an ear, and even go online or copy the ear of a family member. And I think the more detail that they have in terms of shading, the more realistic they'll look as well. So I think that's all I've really got for you guys today, and I hope you can keep going with your portraits even through the week and post some progress photos. I'd really love to see that. If you've got questions as well through the week, send them through and I'll try and answer them the best that I can. But yeah, I think that's all for now. I loved everyone's or who sent through noses. I think you all did really well. And I'm excited to see some more too.
Just seeing if there's any more comments, Liv. But I think you've really made them work today.
I always do. I feel like I throw them in the deep end, but
and
I always love it.
Is this someone you know, or have you just made this up?
It is someone I know. I've sort of changed little bits here and there, but you can, you can always
really
try your best to or make it up.
Awesome. So Linda's jumped on and she said, thank you. Marie's just having some trouble posting photos and comments. But as I said, Marie, when you've got a chance and you're on a device that works properly, feel free to send any progress shots through to the library messenger and we can get them posted throughout the week. There's an album up there already.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I think we've settled on iconic building or a something. Yeah. So I'm thinking what we spoke about might be a good one. What did we speak about? Was it the railway line, the Courager, which is that lonely little railway station platform.
I'm excited.
I think that one might hit the brief in terms of that lonely, nice looking old I don't know what you call it. It's a train station, but it's kind of sitting in the middle of somewhere. Yeah. So I think that one might hit the brief.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in again, and I'm really excited to see some more progress photos as you add more detail. But yeah, feel free to come back on next week. Tell some family friends about it too, because it's our last one.
It is. We'll all have cups of tea and cake in the comfort of our own homes in celebration. BYO, cup of tea and cake.
That's good.
Awesome. All right, Liv. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great week again. We look forward to having our final one next week.
Thank you.
All right. See you, everybody. Keep up the good work.